My sister's life it's a lot, you know?
Everyone's seeing through it. They're seeing through the BS. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are seeking gag orders against Baldoni from releasing information.
And this is some family drama. You don't do this. You don't do this in front of the scenes. This is not right, okay?
If you thought this drama couldn't get any juicier, think again. We've just uncovered a detail that flips everything on its head. Forget what you thought you knew. This isn't just more family tension or another backstage whisper. It's an insider scoop, complete with a leaked audio that hints at secret betrayals and power moves you wouldn't believe. Stick around, because this twist might just turn the whole story upside down.
And also, what we're accusing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds of promissory fraud. So it wasn't like a major amendment, but it was a significant amendment that they would need time to respond to.
Long before her name shimmered on Hollywood marquees, Blake Lively was part of a larger, tight-knit family of actors. At a glance, it seemed like a dream scenario, siblings who pursued the same calling, offering support and advice as each one rose in show business. Yet rumblings of discord behind closed doors began years ago, growing louder as Blake's star ascended.
This was actually a very major thing to say, that there's some party to the suit that has not been named yet, and we should have focused more on that language, because what on earth are they talking about? Who's missing? Who's joining in as a potential willing plaintiff to this case? And we have an answer. As I said, we had a TikToker who had some tea. We had some TikTok tea on this.
Certain family members, including an older sister who'd once had her own time in the spotlight, appeared resentful of how quickly Blake rocketed past them in fame. But the real spark of tension goes beyond typical sibling jealousy. Rumors swirled that someone close to her felt Blake turned her back on family obligations whenever an enticing new project surfaced. It's said that a particular incident, a canceled reunion, some curt exchanges, and a dispute over finances ignited a feud that never fully healed.
And realized that Blake Lively was not telling the truth, and that it was going to be a very steep climb for them to explain why they misrepresented so many things in their initial filing. So
before we knew it, people began talking about Blake's betrayal. Gossip blogs latched onto the notion of a splintered Lively family, and the speculation took on a life of its own. Yet this drama was tame compared to what would unfold when Hollywood insiders started muttering about another fiasco, one that reached far past typical family squabbles. But that was only the first crack in Blake's perfect image.
These people are an absolute abomination, and now they want sympathy, but Justin Baldoni is just thin-skinned. Well, we can say the same to you.
What began as a seemingly ordinary professional link between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni spiraled into a nightmare. Justin was known for projects that highlighted empathy, love, and resilience, far from the usual cutthroat approach to showbiz. People admired him for championing positive messages and forging heartfelt connections with co-stars. Initially, having Blake and Justin collaborate seemed like a potential match made in Hollywood heaven.
I am a huge fan of you.
Oh.
Your movies are so inspiring.
If everyone can tag Justin Baldoni to this video, it would mean the world to me.
I have been trying to reach out to you for the longest. I have everything of you.
Both carried bright reputations, and many expected them to create something memorable on screen. Then the whispers started. According to scattered reports, Blake had privately accused Justin of betraying her trust, claiming that he put her in uncomfortable situations during or after production. The strangest part? Justin appeared blindsided. He insisted he had no idea where these allegations were coming from, and by all accounts, continued planning new ventures as if nothing was amiss.
I think at this point, Lively's team very strongly believes that if they're able to add more women officially to the lawsuit, that the claims will look more legitimate. But at this point, I don't think Jenny Slate or anyone else on the cast really wants to jump aboard the Plantation Khaleesi's yacht that seems to be sinking rather quickly.
Meanwhile, Blake's circle made it sound as though she was too anxious, even fearful, to keep up normal appearances. She painted herself as someone cornered by emotional distress. In a move that set the rumor mill ablaze, major agencies cut ties with Justin not long afterward, leaving him adrift in a sea of canceled deals. People asked the obvious question. If Justin's alleged behavior was so detrimental, why hadn't more of it leaked out?
And I can't tell you who the person was, but he got a very strong tip from somebody regarding Jenny Slate potentially being brought into the suit.
Where was the proof? And if he was genuinely a danger, why did certain industry allies publicly defend him? That's when the real bomb dropped, one involving a powerhouse named Ari Emanuel. But the biggest revelations were yet to come. Ari Emanuel is not just any Hollywood figure. He's a kingmaker, a gatekeeper who can make or break careers with a phone call.
Maybe she thought she could intimidate Justin into giving up, but she miscalculated.
And saying like, hey, if you want like something that you should be looking into and potentially this could happen, you should be subpoenaing TikTok, because if her entire argument is that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer team manipulated the press and she's doing the exact same thing right now.
At the peak of this swirling controversy, rumors spread that an audio recording existed in which Ari himself confessed something startling. Justin Baldoni wasn't dropped from the industry for wrongdoing, but because Ari wanted to stay on Blake's good side. In fact, the alleged conversation suggested that Ari was merely protecting personal friendships. Once that audio snippet circulated, more questions feared than answers.
It's painful. It is painful. And so despite all of the resentment, to me, at the end of the day, that's what it means to be man enough.
If Justin had been kicked to the curb for no legitimate reason, was Blake actually using her influence to bury him? Was this an example of star power being flexed to shape someone else's future, or end it? For a brief moment, the entire situation looked too surreal to be true. Perhaps there was confusion, or a misunderstanding, or some missing context that would explain everything.
Texted me last night, you came here, you knew it wasn't going to be easy, we're going to talk about stuff, and you showed up anyways. And you listened. Because I love you.
Then, more pieces started lining up. Big projects Justin was set to helm suddenly disappeared. Partnerships he had pinned his hopes on dissolved overnight, and his reputation took a severe hit. Many began to suspect that, behind closed doors, Blake Lively had orchestrated a devastating blow to a colleague she claimed had hurt her. Yet, her behavior in public didn't match the persona of someone barely holding it together emotionally.
It seemed like she was very nervous about medical records being revealed, and it seemed very evident that her lawyers were instructed to ensure that her celebrity relationships, third party, all that stuff was off the table, is what I felt.
And here's a story for you. Lively vs. Baldoni. How right-wing influencers are weaponizing the fight to take down #MeToo.
She showed up at events, flashed wide smiles, and seemed entirely unfazed. But the contradictions didn't stop there. One moment, Blake Lively was telling the world she could hardly show her face due to extreme distress. The next, she was headlining red carpets as though nothing weighed on her mind. Critics, both inside and outside the industry, noticed how freely she posed for paparazzi and gave interviews, looking every bit the radiant star.
She didn't come out and make a statement. She didn't come out, with her heart in her hand or say anything. She just kind of allowed this movie to be like an innocent bystander to everything that went on with It Ends With Us.
Skeptics claim that if she were truly as fragile as her claims suggested, she might avoid publicity altogether. Why then was she continuing with high-profile engagements? An even bigger question arose. If Hollywood's top brass had been told that Justin Baldoni was a liability, why were so many of his close colleagues stepping forward to defend him instead of Blake?
She's upset about TikTokers coming out with information or believing that TikTokers are leaking information. Well, then that kind of defeats her own argument.
A spokesperson for Lively condemned the magazine, saying the Hollywood Reporter should be ashamed of itself and criticizing its article for downplaying documented examples of sexual harassment and retaliation as cultural misunderstanding.
If his behavior had genuinely been alarming, it would have come out through more than one or two cryptic statements. Instead, Paul Feig, director of A Simple Favor, seemed to undercut Blake's narrative by implying that no such terror or fear had been palpable on set. Meanwhile, fans couldn't figure out why a star who once championed empathy would so effortlessly support the blacklisting of a coworker without offering concrete reasons.
And proudly displaying us, we're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way in to control these big movies. I mean, how disturbing is this to you?
Her dread was real. Wouldn't she want a thorough investigation or a safer path forward instead of a hush-hush career takedown? Something about the entire scenario rang hollow. But this messy business soon collided with an older, deeper issue, her complicated family dynamic. While family tension festered, Justin Baldoni fought to recover from a professional collapse that seemed almost artificially engineered.
Listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but everything that I'm reading here points to the fact that Blake Lively manipulated her audiences and lied to her audiences.
Once Ari Emanuel's leaked audio spread, it became clear that Justin lost representation, not because he'd done something egregious, but because powerful people were pulling strings behind the curtain. Deals with major streaming platforms evaporated, and producers who had once praised Justin's work slowly withdrew. Meanwhile, Blake's career continued almost untouched. She landed new contracts, kept her brand partnerships alive, and even explored producing opportunities.
Social media companies are not here to investigate, they're not here to be judges and lawyers, but having a lawyer email you on behalf of a client, and if it's an A-list client saying we're gonna come after you, TikTok, for allowing this defamation to exist on the platform.
Observers started to connect the dots. from talk of a personal feud to crippling someone's future. Was this a case of an A-lister leveraging relationships to remove perceived obstacles? As the rumor mill churned, fans who once applauded Blake's philanthropic gestures grew uneasy. Could the star who championed kindness and authenticity really have orchestrated such a silent takedown of someone else's livelihood?
Co-star Justin Baldoni calling it outrageously insulting and playing into every sexist trope. The illustration depicts Lively using a slingshot to fire his cell phone at Baldoni.
Although Hollywood is rife with backdoor maneuvering, the notion that Blake's influence alone could shut so many doors for Justin seemed both astonishing and disturbing. If she had in fact weaponized her celebrity status, what else might she be capable of? But even that was just one half of this twisted saga. With tensions reaching a fever pitch, the final straw was a lawsuit threatening to blast all of these secrets into the open.
Counsel for Wayfarer did not tell us that they planned to file an amended complaint, including a 168 compendium, which is essentially all those text messages.
Justin Baldoni, unwilling to shoulder blame for conduct he insisted never happened, began preparing a defamation case. Legal analysts predicted it would be settled quietly, as high-profile suits often are. But time passed, and neither side seemed eager to settle. For Blake, backing down would mean admitting there was little evidence to support her claims of emotional distress. It would cast a giant question mark over her carefully honed image, an image she'd spent years cultivating.
And I'm kind of shocked as someone who fully believed her, and he's just basically as psychotic as me.
For Justin, however, pressing forward in court offered a chance to clear his name and recoup some of the financial damage. The leaked audio from Ari Emanuel already bolstered his argument that personal favoritism, not actual misconduct, led to his downfall. Meanwhile, rumors circulated that at least one member of Blake's family was ready to speak publicly if summoned under oath, especially regarding her temperament and history of behind-the-scenes manipulation.
We appeared to have all this money, or we appeared to be rich, or we appeared,
And if that happened, the Lively family feud, long kept in the shadows, might burst into the spotlight, unveiling humiliating secrets about power plays that went unchallenged for years. But there was still one final twist that nobody could have predicted. Hollywood thrives on polished images and star power. Studios don't want fiascos that reveal how quickly an A-lister can call up an agency head to obliterate a rival.
We never talked about anything. You're my dad, and I was having resentment for all the stuff we don't talk about.
If this case goes to trial, it could expose the underbelly of celebrity influence, from secret phone calls to leaked text messages that detail manipulative deals. The threat of depositions involving big names has industry giants quaking. What if a jury sees documented proof of someone's career being railroaded out of personal spite? Blake Lively, for her part, seems determined to stand her ground.
And what it sounds like is that she's not interested in being a part of a team. She just wants to own it all.
Her consistent public appearances, unshaken confidence, and refusal to address the controversies directly all scream of someone who believes she's untouchable. Some suggest she's wagering that her star power, combined with well-placed connections, will protect her in the long run. But those same observers warn that if the walls come crashing down, they'll do so spectacularly. Balancing on a facade of innocence is risky, especially when a powerful lawsuit demands receipts, timelines, and behind-the-scenes evidence.
And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that.
If she's forced to reveal email threads or text messages that contradict her public claims of fear, her entire narrative could implode. The question then becomes, how many in Blake's orbit are willing to risk their reputations to shield her? Would her sister turn the tables and expose everything she knows? Would industry allies like Ari Emanuel want to testify under oath about how business truly gets done?
They were not interested in publishing anything about her security, but did bring up that, our addresses got leaked. So that's interesting.
For the first time, it seems that Blake Lively might be confronting a scandal she can't simply brush away with an Instagram smile or a well-rehearsed talk show anecdote. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the latest twist of the saga. We've barely scratched the surface, and there's so much more brewing behind the scenes. Stick around, more secrets and surprises are just around the corner. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next update.